That's on a light note. But we have heard these things from members of parliament.
Yeah.
Accusations and counter-accusations. We have been told that they have told us, not outsiders. It has even gone for discussion in parliament.
Yeah.
That people are taking as little as 10,000 and from toilets. In the last impeachment, the most recent, somebody said people are being given 2 million.
Yes.
The people saying it were not Raia. No, were MPs.
Fellow MPs.
So it's not so far-fetched. But there is just another reason also, which I hadn't thought of. The reason, you can see the way this thing was rushed. National Assembly concluded the impeachment at night. I think it was at night.
Yes. Around 9.
But the documentation for gazettement and everything was done, and the transmission to Senate it was in the morning. Even the letter from the Speaker of Senate, if you see the dates.
Yes.
If you look at the dates, the thing happens on 9, he's receiving the thing on 9, but the date seems to be referring on 8th.
Yeah.
There's something, I even tweeted about it. So in that quick move, in that rush, there is this question of Sifuna failing to second. Because people are saying they were fearing Gachagua would move to court. In between. So what do you do? By Sifuna failing to second that motion, the motion dies. And it cannot be brought during the session. That's this sitting.
Yeah.
What does that mean? Senate is immediately seized of the matter.
Oh. There could have been an injunction.
The time the Senate would have taken to think about this committees is passed. So now Senate has the matter fully. So Gachagua cannot even now rush to court. It was already overtaken by event. So Sifuna, in a choreographed move, that's what people are saying, was ensuring that Gachagua does not go to court to stop Senate. So now it's also meant that even if Gachagua were to choose to resign in between National Assembly and Senate, the door was closed. Because Senate now has the matter. Whether you resign or not, whatever you do, they will still proceed and find you guilty, and then you cannot stand for elections in the future. These are the stories, these are the theories people are coming up with.
Conversation in the country is also about Senate has been seen as a pragmatic and logical institution. When you talk about senators like Onyonka, Edwin Sifuna, Ledamo Lekina, and then you saw 11 Wambua, you know, and then we saw 11 senators from Mount Kenya together with Rigathi Gachagua. Is there a chance that they will look at this issue and determine something that could favor Gachagua in terms of not impeaching him?
The chance is remote, but is there, but very remote. You know, some people are beginning to see these things not a joke. This is not, impeachment is not a joke. No, it's not a joke. Whether Gachagua is impeached or not, we will have to accept that this was not a good thing to do.
The second part of this conversation is also understanding what next. Say they impeach Gachagua.
Try him and find him guilty.
Yes. What
and
next?
Fit to hold office will be that.
What next for Gachagua? Does this mean going back to Badera or fighting through our legal system?
I think if Gachagua is removed from office by Senate, I do not agree with people who say he's finished. Because you see, the laws are such that if you have been impeached successfully, then you are unfit to hold public office again. Other than president being set by people like this, whatever this funny name from Kiambu, the senator, who had been impeached, but he was allowed to run. But of course, there are examples of people like Sonko and the Waititu who could not be allowed. The law strictly followed, you cannot run after the successful impeachment. That includes successful trial. What I think will happen is Gachagua will continue to pursue the matter. First, to overturn what Senate would have done, in the manner in which some governors have done. Wambora was the first to do it. He overturned. So there's precedent. And then there is Garissa. Is it Garissa or Wajir? One of those. I think Wajir. And then currently, Mwangaza Kawira. She has not completed, but she's in office.
Actually, she was impeached by Senate.
Yeah, but she's in office. So there's sufficient. So he will use that path first to try and overturn the decision of Senate. And this followed by a series of injunctions, injuncting the president not to nominate somebody, injuncting National Assembly not to discuss the name, and so on and so forth. That is the first line attack in the judiciary. If that doesn't save him, and again there's precedent, because 2 governors have been saved and brought back. In fact, one was brought back to take office, somebody had already taken. The judiciary had already sworn in another governor, but he was brought back.
It was crazy.
So these are the things I've been warning against. So he will attack through that. But if that doesn't help him, he will pursue and raise issues up to the Supreme Court. And the one I know for certain, the Supreme Court will either save him in the manner in which we have said he has saved the other governors, or they will absolve him of most of the blame, find the process quite flawed, but they will find it difficult to reverse the decision. So the new deputy president will continue his job, but they will clear the way for Rigathi Gachagua.
Clearing the way sounds interesting, because
they'll clear the way for him.
What will be the perception of Gachagua to the general public once he's impeached? And if they clear the way for him, how much of a threat could he be for William Ruto post-impeachment?
First of all, Gachagua himself is not a pushover. For Ruto to get to a point where he must take the risk of impeaching him, it shows the kind of man Gachagua is. That should tell you about who Gachagua is. So if you look at Gachagua in that light, then you can imagine when he's outside there, the sort of hell he will give Ruto, especially if he's successfully removed. And maybe somebody clears the way for him to run for office. Again, the people of this country, in their huge numbers, almost overwhelming numbers, are behind Gachagua and are with Gachagua. Not just the mountain people. And this, let nobody make a mistake about this. It's not because they like Gachagua. Of course, there are people in Mount Kenya who like him, and elsewhere in the country, but a few, but mainly in Mount Kenya people. But even in Mount Kenya, not everybody likes Gachagua. But they don't like this idea of how Ruto has treated them. And that's why they support Gachagua, even on the mountain. There is a similar group of people outside Mount Kenya who are not happy with the way Ruto has treated Gachagua. Then there are those people who cannot believe that at a time the country is going through a lot of challenges and a lot of problems, government and the parliament makes this thing a priority. That our children are not in school. People are dying at home because they can't go to hospital. They are being turned away because of this transition from NHIF to SHIF and other mess. Children at university level cannot go to university because of this new funding. All these things are happening. And the one thing you see is to impeach Gachagua. So for that reason, Gachagua has a strong following in the country. And that could portend some bad things for the country.
You gave us reasons why Ruto could have gotten to this situation, decided to do away with Gachagua in our previous conversation. But now you look at the consequences.
Yes.
How can he heal where he's bruised? Because now he has done away with Gachagua.
Yes.
If Senate goes away, does its thing, how can he heal where he's bruised? Because he needs to make some decisions that can show people that, look, yes, Gachagua is gone, but it's okay with the person we have now as a deputy president.
That is where the challenge begins. I've said getting rid of Gachagua may be the easier part. You start feeling that position. You don't give it to Mudavadi, and Mudavadi himself will understand. I've just been talking to a friend of mine, you heard, the old man. He says, no, we don't want it now, later in future. But that is between the leaders of Western. You don't give it to Mudavadi. You can't go and talk to the people of Western about Ruto again. They'll tell you, go away. And all the new formation fighting Ruto and Raila will need to do is to get Aluya or Amalwa Eugene or Natembea for running mate. And they will have 80% of Western. This one move of not giving Mudavadi now, the deputy, which means he will also not get the running mate. Western Kenya will be wide open. Because if it was Raila standing, Western, even if they are lawyers, to get rid of Raila is not easy. But it will be Ruto going for the votes. And the Mudavadi is nowhere in the picture. You are lying to people 2032. So those are some of the consequences. Then you must now come to Mount Kenya. Another trouble for him. Because there's Mount Kenya East and Mount Kenya West. The votes are in Mount Kenya West. The man being removed is from Mount Kenya West. Then how do you remove from West and go to East? Kindiki, who seems to be the favorite. How do you do that? Because then even Mount Kenya East, he comes from the Raka, very peripheral. The mayor will say where hunger has gone to patch. Again, those are issues he will have to deal with.
Does this mean then he would have successfully divided the mountain if he does that?
That could be the intention, but it will not work.
Well, I say if you give Kindiki the running mate.
If you give Kindiki, you could have just a bit of Mount Kenya, just a bit of it.
But then you lose the Western.
Let me tell you, because I know these things a bit well. The mayor who have such a close affinity to the Kikuyus in matters of politics, that even if they are on, forget about the Raka, Kindiki who is the Raka. Even if you got an Imenti, or Atigania or Chuka, the mainstream mayor to become running mate, many mayors will still go sympathize with the Kikuyus. And whatever moves they will make together with the Kikuyu of Mount Kenya West. So basically, even if you divide the mountain, you can't get more than 30% of the Mount Kenya vote. No. And remember, when we talk of Mount Kenya vote, we are basically talking of Kikuyus and their cousins, the Meru and the Ben. And what you are seeing in Mount Kenya is huge, but there is also an equally big number of Kikuyus outside Mount Kenya. The so-called Valley Kikuyus and the Coast Kikuyus. They are there, they are big numbers. They are not millions also. So I don't think he will succeed in dividing the mountain. But the worst problem will be, what message are you sending to the Kikuyu people? First, if you give Kindiki, that means you have ignored them, you think you can take it to East, but that's not a very big deal. But if you give somebody from Mount Kenya, let's say a Kikuyu, let's say even a Kindiki, let's say Ndindi Nyoro, what are you doing? You are telling them, you gave me a tough man who is fighting for your rights, who is fighting for your share. No, I can't stand that man, no. I want from among you to get a weakling, a person like a candle, it goes off. A flower girl I can put in my pocket. That's the message. So in choosing, he has to navigate around that issue by giving somebody who is not seen as a flower girl, who has a measure of toughness, but who may not be as stubborn as Gachagua. And that leaves him, and I've said, only two people fit that bill. Only Moses Kuria and Mwangi Kiunjuri. Those are the two. Ultimately, he will be, when he retires as the lawyers convince judges, when he retires
to the chambers
to consider this issue, he will be left with Mwangi Kiunjuri and Moses Kuria. Moses Kuria is not what some of you people think. That's a tough guy. And he's a mobilizer, and I've said many times. The only thing that has spoiled for him is
mouth.
Like my driver, you said, mouth. So that leaves you with Mwangi Kiunjuri. And when this decision is being made, I can see Ruto considering between Kindiki and Mwangi Kiunjuri. In between there, but from a distant, Ndindi Nyoro. But the problem with Ndindi Nyoro and Mwangi Kiunjuri, they will have the flower girl image. Softy. People, and that's why I advise Kindiki sometimes, when he began joining Kina Ishungwa and Kina Ndindi in attacking Gachagua, I said, no, don't go in that direction. Don't. Because this idea of attacking Gachagua is what is eating Ndindi Nyoro and Ishungwa. Of course, Ndindi Nyoro got somewhere and he realized, no, he kept quiet.
Yes.
And the Kindiki seems to pick up by almost going for Gachagua. So how does the community take it if you are giving this thing to people who have been attacking Gachagua?
Then someone
very difficult for him.
If he still gives it to Mount Kenya,
yes,
will Mount Kenya resonate with him as they did in 2027?
It will be a little difficult. First of all, it will begin with who are you giving. If you give Ndindi Nyoro, the only card he can play is the Moranga card. That may help you a bit, but how far will it take you? If you give Kindiki, you could gamble on getting Mount Kenya East and losing Mount Kenya West. Anne Waiguru, that is almost, she will almost come with nothing. So you need perhaps, why I was saying Mwangi Kiunjuri, you need a person who may not match Gachagua in fighting for the community in terms of the votes. Because finally, Gachagua will either run for office or he will convince the community to support somebody.
Yes.
So you need a person who can help you counter that. And that's how Mwangi Kiunjuri then comes in.
Okay.
He may not match Gachagua in terms of wrestling the votes from him. But Gachagua will also not have a field day.
So does this mean Ruto without Gachagua, because this is how it seems it will be, 2027 will be more of an uphill task for him?
Very serious.
Because we're still looking at Gen Zs also.
You don't know which way Gen Zs will go. But if what we are hearing is anything to go by, they'll be more sympathetic to the side that is opposing Raila and Ruto. So all it will require, and this is what Ruto must be careful about, all it will require is to maintain the two-horse game, Kenyan game. If it is two-horse, I'm telling you, the sympathy will go with the side that is against Ruto and Raila. That's where the sympathy is. And that's where the Gen Zs will be. By default even. So it's just Kalonzo against Ruto. That I can more or less predict.
Sympathy.
There will be no contest. Kalonzo will just walk over with the thing. He will just walk away with it. Gachagua says, chukua ikitu, hata mimi sitaki. Mkifanya serikali, munipe hiyo kazi ya Mudavadi. Prime Cabinet Secretary. For now, just go with Natembeya or Eugene. In the morning, very early in the morning, as Atwoli would say, Usubui, they have, because the sympathy will be with that side. Not even with Kalonzo, with the side that is opposing. If it is a two-horse race. But if it becomes mixed with like 3-4, if the Gen Zs support somebody strong, say Matiangi, or some other forces have somebody there again, and then there is Kalonzo, then Ruto will win. So these sympathies will be spread across the other three horses.